We've got an interesting week in X-Men. We're going to talk about the 10 Deaths of Wolverine #1, X-Men #7. And for those of you wondering what Doc and I think about Marauders Annual, you'll have to wait till tomorrow for Worst of the Week. Obviously, here with me is the X-Men historian, the Marvel aficionado himself. Doc, how you doing, buddy?
Well, let's just start off with saying if this was death, I prefer death to life so far. Yeah, that didn't make any sense, but whatever.
This one at least has a story to it that picks up on things that we already knew about, so it's not completely incomprehensible what's going on here. I do have a couple of issues. Just right off, I like the art in this comic book from Federico Valentini. I like it, but it's so different from the 10 Lives of Wolverine. I think that was one of the strengths of House of X Powers of 10 was you had two different artists, Pepe Larraz and R.B. Silva, but they were similar enough in style that they kind of complemented each other. This is just different. It's like an anime type of style comic book. That kind of just threw me off, but I do like the art. I like it.
I liked it better than Lives of Wolverine. I like a more traditional style rather than Joshua Caceres really.
Well, Caceres more of like a horror type artist, and this is more action-y type vibes. Yeah. It's definitely got a kinetic feel to it. There's the other elephant in the room we got to talk about before we even get into the quality of this, Doc. This is not a Wolverine comic. This is a Moira X comic.
Yes, it is. And I feel like this is a little more proof that whatever they were planning to do with that Moira X series, Ben Percy basically took John Hickman's, I guess, general outline or notes from it and just modified it into a Wolverine series. And this issue was absolutely a Moira issue. There was no Wolverine in this comic. I mean, a tiny
2 or 3 pages maybe.
Yeah. But at the same time, I really did mostly enjoy it. So, okay, a Wolverine comic without Wolverine, I guess I can live with it.
I liked a lot of elements of it. Like I said, it's picking up on a lot of things that we just read, and it's got a good frenetic pace to it. Just a couple of issues I have with it. I don't know maybe how you felt about this, Doc, but I think Moira McTaggart turning into like the world's baddest assassin in like moments. So she's knocking people out. She's like stealing their guns. She's beating the shit out of killers. I was like,
well. In fairness, Moira did live a life where she was an assassin, where she was like killing people to direct the rate of mutant evolution and like how it was going to develop.
I remember that part. I remember her standing next to Apocalypse.
No, she was standing next to Apocalypse, but there was the one where she was running around with a sniper rifle. That was one of her lives. I know, but still, it showed that she was. Now, it doesn't show that she's actually any good at like hand-to-hand
sniper
combat.
Doesn't mean you could kick somebody's ass.
Granted, yes, I will agree with you. It doesn't, being a sniper does not mean you're any good at hand-to-hand combat. And she was just basically a fucking doctor for her entire existence. So, yes, but I mean, come on. At this point, when are we not going to get a modern piece of media with 90-pound girl that beats up 240 pounds, Navy SEALs and like a half dozen of them in a small room? Because that's just a trope at this point.
Oh, I'd say it's a bad writing trope. But otherwise, like I said, the story's cool. It kind of returns her to her roots, and she's on the run. We've got Mystique that's essentially tracking her down. Obviously, that would be a very powerful assailant to be after you. And it seems like she's in a bit of peril here, Doc.
Yeah, I mean, Mystique does have a long history of basically kind of being almost like a... Mystique would have made a very, very good bounty hunter. And she's had periods where she kind of was. Like, she kind of filled that role. And this is basically the mutant comic book version of The Fugitive. And Mystique is Tommy Lee Jones, and Moira is Harrison Ford, except for Tommy Lee Jones does care whether or not Moira did it.
I don't think so. She just wants to kill her.
Well, yeah, she does care. She just wants to kill her. because she wouldn't want to kill her if she didn't do it. But look, this overall, I'd say that this comic was interestingly well done. This feels like, obviously, the spiritual successor to what was going on at the end of Inferno. And I feel like this is maybe trying to redeem the anticlimactic ending there, or in some ways just expand on it, because we all got left with blue balls at the end of Inferno. At least this issue seems like maybe trying to give us a little relief.
So we do have to talk about Wolverine. He's in here a little bit. It definitely getting more vibes of Terminator 2 now that we've got Wolverine in the past fighting Omega Red, trying to save Charles Xavier. It appears that we have a Wolverine from the future that's got the techno-organic virus all inside of him, and maybe he's hunting down I'm assuming is he hunting down Moira to protect her? Did she send him back from the future?
Like, you remember the part in House and Powers where Moira and Logan are in that like human preserve?
Yeah, they're in that zoo.
Yeah, and the blue human kind of hybrid things. Yeah. They're trying to make contact with the Technarchy, which is the Phalanx. Moira gets killed, but I think this might be a sign that maybe that future actually, like that timeline continues. This might be changing the nature of Moira's power set. Moira dies in that future, and then she resets, but that timeline actually continues, and this is the Wolverine that ends up infected by the techno-organic virus from the Phalanx, that the post-humans actually do make contact with in the future, and it's sent back somehow to the present. Now, I think this does also explore kind of what the nature of that, like, the inner workings of Krakoa are. And I think this is probably going to end up coming with like the No Place, or somewhere inside Krakoa is somehow connected to all points in time. And that's how Wolverine brain time traveling is going to work. Plus, future Wolverine coming back from some like cancerous cocoon that pops up from inside Krakoa. I think that's where they're going with this. I think it's pretty obvious at this point. Yeah, it is kind of cool. Like, all right, good. At least those variant covers that we were getting with Wolverine kind of all techno-organic-y wasn't for no reason.
I would recommend this one. It's much better than its predecessor, but it is a bait and switch. This is not a Wolverine comic. It's a Moira comic. It's the 10 Deaths of Moira.
I would agree. I'd say that this is overall a recommendation comic. The only thing I would caution against is anyone that expects Ben Percy to understand the technology he's ever writing about. Because apparently, at least in Ben Percy brain, you can fool facial recognition by giving yourself a haircut and a dye job. No, sorry, Ben, if you want to fool facial recognition, punch yourself in the face, break your nose, and give yourself some swollen eyes. Like, really fuck up your face.
Because simmer down, Doc. We're over 10 minutes. We got to get to the other comic book.
All right.
We do have another comic to talk about. This is Gerry Duggan, Pepe the Raz on X-Men number 7. Take it as itself, Doc, as its own comic book. I would recommend this. But take it as a series. This thing it's in the wrong place. This should have been the previous issue. There's no reason to have put this issue after number 6. It makes everything confusing. They don't tie it together where it makes it like make sense. But we finally get to see how Cyclops died. Yeah, so last issue, it was just random Captain Krakoa, and us then finding out partway through, it started in situ with Captain Krakoa already there, and then it kind of worked its way backwards. This is like the second half of just last issue, where it's still working its way backwards from that in situ reveal at the beginning of issue 6. Overall, it was a very good comic. I actually like this. Now, it doesn't change the fact that Gerry Duggan shouldn't be writing X-Men. He should be writing an X-Men villains
comic, because the X-Men only exist in Gerry Duggan comics to advance the plots of their villains. That's it at this point. They don't have their own plots in the comic.
We do get Dr. Stasis. I believe that's what you're kind of getting to. And he's got all these hybrid animal like soldiers that he's sending into the streets. And
yeah, it's cool. I wonder whether or not, once we see Dr. Stasis with these hybrid, like when they showed that opening scene of Dr. Stasis in that laboratory, and I didn't know it was Dr. Stasis initially. I'm like, oh, cool, they brought back the High Evolutionary again. Because the High Evolutionary was in there a couple issues ago. That's his shtick, like the animal-human, multiple animal-human hybrid things, like, sentient animal hybrids. That's his thing. Then the way that they revealed it as New Jersey and Dr. Stasis, I'm like, I wonder if there's a connection now. So hopefully he might be building to something. Now, it's Gerry Duggan, so more than likely he's going to drop the fucking ball when it comes to actually doing something cool. But, you get Dr. Stasis, he's got this plan. He's kind of, I don't know, self-deprecating a little bit, and it was actually not bad humor, where he's like, if I don't make it back to New Jersey tonight, and I was like, oh, really? Really, New Jersey? Okay, whatever, man. But no, like he has this plan and he's setting forth with it. Because we still haven't seen Dr. Stasis's face. We don't know who he is. If it ends up just being the High Evolutionary, I will be kind of bummed.
What if it's a Mr. Sinister clone?
Well, I will definitely be bummed then. But I feel like there's a connection here because they were referring to them as hybrids or the chimeras. And I'm wondering whether or not you're going to end up with some degree of a connection between, the sinister chimeras that we saw in House and Powers and that have never really been expanded upon. I mean, there was a tiny little bit in Hellions, and then this. If there's going to be connection, if they're, Sinister's going to steal his technology, if they end up merging in some way, I don't know, but there is some intrigue here, and it was done really well because he had a good plan. Unleash these animals, like these chimeras, as he referred to them, have them run wild, have a depleted X-Men team try to, save the world or save the city.
And they're like walking bombs because of whatever they drank. So when Sunfire shoots him up, he's going to cause this big explosion.
Yeah, exactly. He basically booby-trapped his own chimeras because, one, it can possibly fuck somebody up. Two, it can make the X-Men look really bad and the mutants look really bad because they're causing all this extra devastation, not thinking through the consequences of their actions kind of thing. And then he gets to the point where he wants to make one of them die publicly. Now, he really wants it to be Cyclops, and he gets his wish.
So is that a tiger and a sloth?
Yes.
Why wasn't the sloth slow?
I think it's because it's got sloth strength and stuff, but
tiger instincts,
tiger agility.
Oh,
I'm thinking that, that's where they're going with it.
He grabs a baby and tosses it at Cyclops. Obviously, Cyclops is a hero, so he's got to catch the baby and try to save the baby, and he's able to get it a glancing blow, but it's not a killing blow, Doc.
Exactly. And then Dr. Stasis, who we still, again, have not seen his face, is, basically is pretending to be an EMT and goes over to, ostensibly work on Cyclops.
He worked on him all right.
Oh, yeah. He worked on him with a scalpel to finish the job. Which does also kind of give us some insight into the character here, that he's not, he will use lackeys to go do a lot of his work, but he's also not afraid to get his hands dirty and do some of the dirty work himself. So yeah, I am curious on where this is going. I really enjoyed this comic. Holy shit, generic Duggan wrote a comic that I really enjoyed.
Yeah, I like this one quite a bit. We still have the mystery of who Mind Wipe Ben Ulrich. I guess we'll find out that in the future. And there's also the Dr. Stasis gives Cyclops a message to meet him somewhere when he's resurrected, but he doesn't remember what it is.
Because what Stasis is doing here is he's testing his theory that they're being backed up somehow, and it's an infrequent, it's not real time. It's like planned backups. It's not where it's kind of constantly synced to whatever server it's being backed up on. So he gives him a secret, because this is something that they brought up during when they were talking about all of the X-Men incursions onto the Orchis station, onto the Forge, that's like they never learn. Why don't they learn? And he's basically just using the basic scientific method to figure out why they're not learning.
I like both of these. This is a good week at X-Men. I would recommend both of these comic books. I don't like 10 Deaths quite as much as you do, but I do like it. It was definitely a step up, and I did really enjoy X-Men number 7.
Say both of them are about 4-star comics.
I would give probably 10 Deaths, maybe like a 3.5, and then X-Men number 7, 4 and 4.5. The art was really, really good.
Yeah, I enjoyed both of them. Go pick them up. Seriously.
As most of you know, the X-Men line has been quite this good for the most part all around. If you've been wondering why, Doc and I talked about it last week. It's Jordan White, the editor. You will not believe the things that he said about his editorial process on X-Men. You need to watch this.